You bought a GR Corolla! Super stoked, right? I know we come in with some sick modification videos, but this one's even more exciting. Guess what? General maintenance. Let's go. So when it came time for my first oil changer, I always trust Motul motor oils and other lubricants. They've never failed me, except for that one time. But overall, really great product, and I love using Motul stuff. Just the packaging, the measurements, even like the spout is super easy to use. The other thing with these is we chose the Eco Clean oil. Now, these engines call for 0W 20 weight oil, but there is the ILSAC or ILSAC rating, and this compared to the other Motul 0W20s meets that rating. So some people say you don't have to worry about it, other people say you do. Why not just have the stuff that the manufacturer calls for, which is this. Now the other thing is we have this as a oil change kit on our website. So it includes all the oil you need. It's a 5-liter jug. We have the official, let me run that back. The official Toyota crush gasket there. And secondly, the Toyota genuine oil filter. Now, there are other aftermarket oil filters that will work for this, but right now I believe HKS is still working on theirs, and there are other brands that haven't released them yet. So let's just go with the stuff that we know works. Gazoo vouches for this oil filter, so we're going with that. Other stuff you'll need, I do have my beautiful oil drain pan here. We'll need a 10 mil noisemaker, and I believe the drain plug is gonna be a 14. We're doing this live, so when I take the thing off, it's gonna say right here, it'll say, yes, I was right, it was a 14, or it'll say, I was wrong, turn this off, it was actually a blank millimeter. Now, at this point, I have the car jacked up in the air. Please pan over. Thank you very much. And we're gonna go ahead and go into the car, show you guys where to access the oil filter, as well as drain the oil, and then secondly, how much oil to actually put in and how to prep your beautiful little filter. If you don't know how to pop the hood, please stop now. Oh, that's the gas door. Yo, I was trying to be slick, dude. If you don't know how to pop the hood, just cut it out now. All right, dude. Some hood struts would be really nice on this thing. I think they make the hood struts for the E210 Corolla, which is like the same layout. So I think with those, I don't think they have these little fender garnishes. So I think it attaches somewhere there. I'm gonna look more into that. I don't think I've seen anyone like install hood struts on the GR Corolla, so may as well be the first, right? The first thing I'm gonna do is remove the oil cap. Now what that's gonna do is when you go to remove the drain plug, it's going to come out at a certain flow rate, or like angle really. What happens is you put your oil pan under there, make sure you catch everything, and then you go to open this, and then because there is no vacuum holding it in, it starts coming out at a faster rate, and if you don't have your oil pan in the right spot, it's gonna go all over the place. Ask me how I know that.
How do you know that?
No. So anyways, we're gonna take this off, and just like I said before, you will see the API rating and the ILSAC rating is the same as this Motul 8100 Eco Clean 0W20. Wow, we saw the right stuff. So the next thing we're gonna do, go into the car. There are gonna be 4 10mm bolts that hold on the oil filter and pan cover. Now we don't want to take off the whole under tray, it's just a small area to access those components. Let's go down under. I come from a land down under. We're going down under. Just like my man, Danny Rick, AlphaTauri, doing it right. But you will notice that the under tray is a larger section now. We have taken that off in previous videos. Thanks for getting closer. But there's a small section in here that has 4 10mm / Phillips head bolts. This is gonna come off and allow us to access not only the drain plug for the oil pan, but also the oil filter, which is located right about yonder. Look at that shiny new exhaust, dude. All right, now you will notice that there is a plastic rivet right here. This is for the air intake here, which I believe cools the turbo. So you don't have to worry about that. You'll see it right there, but it doesn't have anything to do with this. So we have the oil drain plug here. I still believe it's a 14 mil or 16 now that I'm looking at it. And then the oil filter is right here. So great placement, great presentation. Thanks, Toyota. So the first thing I'm gonna do is drain the oil. That will allow some of the oil filter contents to drain out as well. And then secondly, once this is down to a sputter, we'll go ahead and take the oil filter off. Now in the meantime, let me swing out of here with my old ass. Now in the meantime, what I'm gonna do is prep the filter. This is something that I like to do. Other people don't seem to care for it too much, but hey, But once I have this filter open, this is pretty much it's typically like I don't want to call it paper or cardboard, but it's kind of like paper or cardboard. It's just like a coffee filter if you think about that. It does suck up fluids like Mac. So the filter inside of here, think of it like a coffee filter. So when liquids come in contact with it, it absorbs. So what I want to do is go ahead and put a little bit of oil in there so that it absorbs it. And that way when we start the motor, it's not absorbing at the same time. So like I said, if you're picky like me, you just do it. If you don't care, then just don't. The other thing that I do like here is, unlike some other filters, the O-ring here is lubricated already. So that's gonna make sure that we have a nice tight fit on the seal. So cool. And then we get to the nice stuff. So I believe this calls for 4.5 liters, but I'm not 100% sure, so I'll double check first before I fill this bitch up. The thing I like about Motul is it has this nice long neck to it. So also, if you see there's a bunch of fins in there, they kind of fold in, and then when you pull it up, they kind of fold out. So that just helps. It's almost like a baffle. So when you go to pour the oil, it doesn't just like glug out everywhere. It just kind of monitors the flow. So that's why I like Motul. It's super easy to use. You know, you don't have to aim super hard to get it in there. So we're gonna go ahead and just put a little right in the opening there. And I'll fill this just about to where the spout goes, and then you will see, just like that, kind of see it gurgle down. So it's just gonna work into all the filtering elements, and it should absorb almost all of that. So by the time we go to install this and turn it sideways, none of the oil is gonna actually come out because it's all inside the filter. I'm gonna put this in the box over here just so I don't lose it. Now the crush washer here, this is gonna go and replace the crush washer that's in the oil drain plug. So as you unthread it, one of these is gonna come off with that plug, and then we're gonna just put this new one on to just make sure that we have a nice fresh gasket on that. And at this point, we're gonna go ahead and test my theory that that's a 14 mil bolt. Like I said, I could be wrong. We'll find out, and I'll be embarrassed.
That's right, baby. You may as well just give me a degree right now in mechanicking, because it was a 14 mil. Jump cut to the beginning where I said it was a 14 mil in slow motion. Because we're good. So like I said, we're just gonna wanna make sure that we're ready for this high flow, and the crush washer is sticking to the oil pan I see now. So that's just something to keep in mind for later. We're gonna wanna take that off before we put the new one on. Here we go. This is hot because I was just driving my car. Now I'm gonna put the oil plug in the little access area of my pan where the oil filter is gonna go later. So far I don't see any metal chunks or any other debris, so that's great news for me. So right now should be the farthest towards the back of the car the oil is gonna go. And as it starts to empty out, it's gonna start to curve towards the front of the car. So I'm gonna position the pan like this.
Love the smell of used Motul. Oh. Yo, dude, a whole cylinder just fell out. Is the oil supposed to look like a galaxy? Oh my god, your whole drive shaft just fell out.
Shut up. All right, as you can see, it's at the very end of a long P. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and start to remove the filter. Now, I believe that the area between the oil draining right now and the filter is within the vicinity of my oil catch pan here. We'll go ahead and just make sure all that stuff's drained out before we put new oil in. Now, once again, I was correct in my first assumption. It takes 4.5, some say 4.6 liters. This came with 5, just over 5. I obviously put some in the filter, so we're just gonna measure it from here. Actually, it's, yeah, just over 5 liters. We'll go ahead and make sure we have the right amount. The rest of this oil you can hold on to. I don't expect the engine to consume much oil, it being a newer car, but it is always good to obviously check your oil every bit and top it off. So that's what we'll do. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab the oil filter here. It's quite hot. All right, I got my big old glove here because A, it's still very warm, and B, my small dexterous strength is quite ass right now. Oh, there we go. The drain plug's usually not bad. The oil filter can be a, whoa, bit of a mess. All right, worked like a charm. I only got a little drip. The oil has drained out. We have a very slow drip from the oil drain plug, but at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and install the new oil filter. Most of that oil that I put in there is sopped up. You can see there's a little bit it's like wanting to pour out, so I'm just gonna go ahead and try to make it as least messy as possible. It's fine to have that, it's just, it is what it is. I'm gonna use this rag just to wipe up the area from the oil filter seal as well as the drain plug before I install both the new ones in place. Oil filter is good to go. Got some gunk off there, and like I said, with this one I might have a little bit of fresh oil drip out, but nothing I can't lick off my fingers. Oh, nothing's dripping, that's good. As I tighten it, you don't want to over tighten this. They do make those tools to remove oil filters. You don't want to use those to install one
And if you do want to use it, just turn it a little bit, because these things after a few heat cycles can really stick on there. So I'm just going to use that same glove with a good grip on it to turn it a little bit more, and that's good. Oil drain plug, like I said, we have that old gasket still on there, that pesky gasket. If you're not looking for it, it has turned black at this point. So it'd be pretty easy to overlook that if you were an amateur oil enthusiast. Holy crap, dude, that thing is on there. All right, I'm going to get something to pry that off, because that thing has really found a home.
Yo, these wheels are sick. Where can you buy them?
Well, you can get them at circuiteneam.com or grcorollaparts.com for your GR Corolla. I second guessed myself like once or twice until I got a flashlight down here. That crush washer is definitely like one with the oil pan at this point. So I started prying at it a little bit more aggressively, and it's starting to come off. But yeah, I would say if you're just doing like your first oil change on this, you're not used to something like that, you could definitely overlook it and double stack these, which might not have a very good seal. This crush washer definitely got crushed. You could see actually like the inside here got almost like sucked into the oil pan. It's almost like a top hat kind of an effect. When you go to change your oil, definitely make sure this comes off, because if you stack these upon each other, there is a, I wouldn't say a probability of failure, but a possibility of failure. So yeah, that thing is on there.
What are you, a horse girl?
Don't make fun of my lifestyle. All right, we got our new crush washer on the oil drain plug. I'm gonna give one more, do one more wipe down of the hole before I plug her up. I'm sure that there's some sort of torque spec for this. I'm gonna be honest with you, I usually just give it like, tighten it up and then give it like a little bit more of a twist like that. For me, that's good. We're good under here. I'm going to very gently move this out of the way as I put this bottom access cover on so that I don't drop any of the screws into the spent oil, because that would be really fun. All right, when you go to put this back on, this part right here, this ridged area is going to go in almost like a hinge, and the other side's going to flap up. Okie doke.
Yo, nice hat, dog. Where'd you get it? Unreleased, cannot show.
As always, what you're gonna do is take all of your old oil and oil filter, bring it to your local auto parts store, and then drain it into their storm drain. Now, they will get in trouble for this, and you won't, especially if they don't have cameras. But in all seriousness, if you take this to the local auto parts store, I believe that legally they can't refuse to take oil and other harmful liquids like coolant. So you can drop this off in the same jug that you got it in. And honestly, most places get paid when they recycle oil, so they should want to take it anyways. So now that we got all the old stuff off, the new filter, the new crush washer installed, we're gonna go ahead and fill the oil up. Like I said, 4.6 liters. And after that, we should be set to go. All right, so I forgot my oil funnel at home, so I'm just gonna grab a random bottle. If you have like a water bottle, a Gatorade bottle, whatever work. I have this isopropyl alcohol bottle, so I'm gonna get all the old alcohol out. That should do it. And we're gonna go ahead and just cut this about halfway and then tip it over and then fill it with oil on top of the engine, of course. All right, so now we have our fancy oil funnel. We're gonna place it right there, and I'm gonna go ahead and fill this to 0.8 liters. We'll give it the best shot. Like I said, this is slightly overfilled, so if you see it's just over 5 liters, and we already used a little bit for the oil filter. So I'll probably fill it to just under the 1 liter mark. Check the dipstick after I drive home and refill if I need to at all, but I think it should be fine. I got the right amount of oil in there. We'll go ahead and put the oil cap back on and be all set. I do want to mention my oil interval changes. I know there's like some variants in there out there. The first oil change, I waited to 1,000 miles from when I bought the car to do the same exact oil change on this. Right now I have about 6,000 miles, and 5,000 is like the recommended. I knew I was doing a track day in 3 days, so I kind of eked it over a little bit. I'd usually aim around like, yeah, I'd say like 4,000 miles, especially with newer cars. If this was more heavily modified or I was running like ethanol, I would usually do intervals a little bit closer to like 3,000. But like I said, I knew I was going to change the oil just before this track event anyways, so I didn't want to do it too soon. And B, because it's a newer car that's not heavily modified, I didn't worry too much about it. I know I think Toyota might recommend every 6,000 miles, but I'd say like between like 4,000 and 5,000 is where I feel comfortable. Especially, I do plan on driving the car spiritedly, and secondly, it's not super modified. So once again, it's up to you. It's your car. If you have a lot of modifications or running different fuel types, maybe a little sooner would be better. If it's just a daily driver that you
commute with and probably closer to the Toyota recommended intervals. The other thing I do mention is oil viscosity. There's a lot of conversation that I've seen so far around running a thicker oil, so a 5W30. The Subaru world where I come from, it's very common to run a 5W40, even though the manufacturer recommends 5W30. Or with the new 2022 WRXs, those also call for a 0W20. A lot of people running 5W30. For this car, once again, because the modifications, because most of the time it's like a daily driver, 0W20, I'm fine with that. That's what Toyota says. That's what we're doing. I want to see a little bit more information out there before I change oil weight. But if you feel like you want to run a higher weight oil, you live in like in a warmer climate, something like that, go for it. It's up to you. 5W30 is probably the heaviest that I would go like with this configuration, but it's up to you. Do a little bit of research. Maybe we'll do a video on that. If you want to see a video on that, please comment below. Ask about oil viscosity in this car and why there are variations as to what people use. That is pretty much it. We are done and dusted. My hands are still relatively clean. If you want to check the oil level, obviously you're gonna want to put the car all the way on the ground to do that. The other thing is you want to check the oil after the car has cooled down. So if you just change the oil, put it on the ground, turn the car on and check the oil, it's obviously gonna be all in the engine itself. So let it sit for a little bit, let it cool down, all the oil will pool to the bottom, and that's gonna be to give you the most accurate reading on your dipstick. Really appreciate it. Like I said, we do have these oil kits available on our website, grcorollaparts.com. If you have any questions, please comment below. We'll definitely get back to you or give us a shout. Thanks so much.